Welcome to the Worldwise Wealth Podcast. I'm your host, Nicole, and this podcast is your guide to building a truly borderless life. From entrepreneurship, investment migration, tax optimization, and everything in between, this show highlights the nuances of a global citizen lifestyle. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the show. And in today's episode, I sit down with Harrison. Now, in this episode, we dive into moving abroad to Spain from America, what that transition was like, general lifestyle in Spain, and also how he built his business to help those who are looking to teach abroad in Spain come to Spain and really having that excellent level of customer service that keeps bringing more clients through the door. So not only are we talking about Spain, some of the tax benefits, healthcare benefits, and whatnot that you can get from going to teach abroad in Spain. But we also touch, of course, on cost of living, how much you can expect to make, and how he built his business out of necessity. So let's dive into today's episode.
Yeah, first of all, thanks, Nicole, for having me here. I'm from the United States originally. I'm actually from Louisville, Kentucky, where I, oddly enough, have always just loved Spanish. That's kind of just been my thing, Spanish class, taking trips to Central South America, and have always just loved like Spanish-speaking people, the Spanish language. And so back in 2012, when I went to college, I went to the University of Cincinnati in Ohio to study Spanish. And absolutely loved that and had a great experience. And, part of, my degree, I did a study abroad in Madrid, Spain back in 2015. It was my first time ever being in Spain. And I absolutely fell in love with just the lifestyle, the culture. And I know we'll probably dive into a little bit of that. Actually met my now wife, oddly enough, on that trip. She was doing her undergrad or master's at the time, and she's from Spain. And just awesome, life-changing, study abroad trip that a lot of people, typically have on these sorts of things. And I came back to the US and just knew immediately that I needed to come back to Spain. And one, just to see how things, would work out with this girl, but two, just also, finally immerse myself in Spanish. I felt like that there was just such a clear pathway, because Cincinnati is not known for being, the Spanish speaking capital of the world. And so I thought, like, why not go back and, do like a longer round two in Spain, and started scrambling just to find ways to come back. And that kind of led me down this whole teach abroad pathway, where I found a teach abroad program, which is the easiest way to get a visa to work at a school. And then that, I can dive deeper if you want now, but that has led into, starting the RVF International company shortly after arriving and teaching in Spain.
What a story. Thank you for sharing a quick glimpse into what that journey looked like for you, condensing many years into a few short sentences. I'm curious, what did it look like for you when you first arrived in Spain? What was the support that you received, having been going to a new country that you've never been to? And then what were some of the maybe complications that happened that made you feel like, if I created something of my own, I could do this so much more faster, better, easier?
Yeah, great question. So when I first arrived, I was just immediately struck by just how beautiful Spain is, and all of Europe, and how, the transportation system functions, and healthcare, and how people dress. And those were definitely the things that really shocked me at first, because I arrived in flip-flops and just like shorts and just the typical, backwards baseball cap, just screaming American with no style. And not that there's not a place for those things, but it was just a cool, different experience just to be in this like really, put together kind of stylish place where, people would go have a coffee and sit down and read the newspaper in a park, and just do a lot of these neat things that like I just maybe wasn't doing at that time in my life. And so that was kind of my first initial experience before I ever like met my wife and my friends group and everything. The food obviously is incredible. My initial transition experience was kind of twofold. I was with the study abroad in early 2015, awesome experience with them. My experience late 2015 with my teach abroad program was pretty bad, which I'm incredibly grateful for now. But it just no help with getting a visa, finding a place to live. I didn't realize that there were all these bureaucratic hoops that you had to go through after you arrived. There's all this like paperwork you have to file. There's TAs and empadronados and like certificates to be able to work at the school that are pretty difficult to do. felt confident in Spanish, but it was just a whole other like paperwork level. Those words and terminology I wasn't used to. And so it kind of sounds like, well, you could have watched a blog or a video, read a blog or something and been fine. But it was, Spain's another beast when it comes to paperwork, which is just one of the kind of the love-hate relationships with just any place you're in. It is very, very clunky paperwork wise, which is okay. There's a way to do it. You just need to know how. This program offered zero support and essentially kind of ghosted us after we arrived. It was kind of like, you're on your own, you're adults, have a great year, which is not what we signed up for. We paid this like really hefty fee so that we could have someone to hold our hand, and then just to be ghosted was not what we were expecting. So actually a lot of people in that program year with me left after a couple of weeks. They just went back to the US, lost that fee, just was not worth it for them. And had I not had the support of Alejandra, my now wife, obviously it would have been a lot more difficult. And so that was the initial kind of impressions. And then also just the experience. It was kind of a letdown, not Spain wise, but just this, I don't think this company prepared us to just like translate what it would look like to like live successfully in another place. I don't think they did that very well.
So it sounds like they were kind of just in it for the money, get the initial fee, you arrive in Spain, they get the money, and then ghosted.
110%. Yeah, we were all 22 or 23 and just had wanderlust and wanted to go to Europe and have a cool experience. And they did get us to Europe, but like there's arriving and then they got us to Spain, but didn't really do much else after that.
Interesting. So I'm curious, what was the actual, and it might look different now from when you first went, but what was the actual reality of being a teacher in Spain? Like, what are the hours? Is it kids, adults? Like, I'm curious about that lifestyle.
Yeah. So it really depends on the school system, but the number one school system where Americans can go, Canadians can go, is the bilingual public school system, which is where I taught in 2015. It's where the people that join our program teach in Spain. It's an incredibly laid back, flexible work environment. It's really excellent. It really is. I can't speak to every school system, obviously, but the position that people that I had, that people in our program, other programs have, is a Monday through Thursday position with Fridays off every single week. The one sentence descriptor I always give is, it's all the best parts of teaching without all the stuff that everyone hates. So there's no grading, there's no meeting with parents, there's no disciplining. There's no lesson planning, running errands. They're co-teaching with someone else in the classroom. A Spaniard has all those responsibilities. And so our people, myself, people in other programs, are just at the school from 9 to 2, Monday through Thursday. Your time's very respected. I maybe did 10, 15 minutes worth of prep on the train to work every day. Not because it wasn't difficult what we're going over, but like just without that burden of lesson planning, you're just kind of reviewing. You're like, okay. And because it's a bilingual school, everything's taught in English. And so the pace of the classroom is just really slow because all these kids are learning everything in their second language. And so it's just a lot. It's just very easy to pick up on. And this was my first ever, introduction to the ESL education world abroad, and incredibly nervous before I started October 1st, 2015, and like totally fine after like the first day, just like realizing, okay, this is very, very laid back, very chill. What's cool is that it's Fridays off every week, so plenty of time to travel, explore. You have free health insurance benefits. You're not paying tax on what you earn. So what someone earns in this role, what I earned in American terms, standards would not be a lot in the US. But like in terms of like living successfully in Spain, more than enough to live very comfortably. And afford whatever you need, travel, go out to eat, just the day to day. And so people that join our program are they going to get rich off of it? No. Are they going to like live well? 100%, and, do something cool for a year or two.
Are you looking to become a diversified global citizen? If this is a lifestyle that you're seeking to create, we can help. Whether it be multiple residencies, citizenships, bank accounts, trusts, or company formations, we operate in 30 plus of the most tax-friendly jurisdictions around the globe to get you structured properly. Head to the link in the show notes to learn more and to get your global citizen journey underway today. Interesting. Okay, I want to hone in on that a little bit. So I have some questions if you're open to it. I'm
Yeah.
curious, what is the average salary a teacher can expect? What are some of the benefits you can expect?
Yeah.
You mentioned some tax benefits. And then also, just to put all of this in perspective, what is, and I guess let's talk about some major cities,
Yeah.
what is the average cost of living that somebody can expect in
Yeah,
Spain?
super good question. So someone would earn between 850 to 1,000 euros a month, depending on where they live. Like the Canary Islands is closer to 850, Madrid, Valencia, around 1,000, the north, typically around 900 euros a month. Um, that would not be enough to live on if you had to also pay for taxes and, part of your paycheck went towards like social security and, health insurance. Because those things are already taken care of, it comes out to be a little bit more, oddly enough, believe it or not, than most of the coworkers, like the Spaniards at the school. And so this it's not a long-term program that someone can do for more than 3 years. So that's why there's a lot of these cushy benefits to like incentivize people to come over for a temporary period of time. But so while someone's working at the school, they're gonna be totally fine. Madrid is really the only place we'd recommend to maybe have a roommate, just because it'd be like living in Manhattan. Like most people like don't live in Manhattan by themselves. Like they probably have a roommate or like a double, dual income family. Madrid just being the capital, you almost do need two incomes to afford it. That being said, when I first arrived to Madrid, I had a downtown city center apartment, this massive, in Spain terms, 4 bedroom, 4 bathroom apartment with two other guys that I met, fully furnished. We each paid $300 a month. And so like that apartment itself was just $900 a month. In US terms, that's a steal. In Spanish terms, starting to get a little bit steep, especially if you're making 1,000 euros a month. And so, but like, like if you were to split that 2 or 3 ways, you're paying as little as like $300. Anywhere else in Spain, we find that someone could easily live by themselves, whether that's Mallorca, Malaga, Seville, Valencia, Bilbao, just because the cost of living once you leave a place like Madrid is just so different. In Madrid is very, very affordable. It's just housing is a little bit pricier. But if you just live a little bit further away from the city center, totally fine. My wife and I, for the longest time, lived a little bit outside of Madrid city in a place called Alcalá de Henares, which is famous for being the birthplace of Cervantes, the guy who wrote Don Quixote. That's their claim to fame. It's a pretty cool place. But we had a 4 bedroom, 2 bathroom apartment for $900 also. That was just up until recently, and that's just like 30 minutes outside of the city center of Madrid. So like pretty affordable.
And 4 bedrooms. That's
Yeah,
wild.
it is. It is.
That's actually very interesting in terms of cost of living. And so no taxes are taken from, I assume, foreign teachers' salaries. Is that correct? And then what are some of the benefits that a teacher could expect when moving to Spain and teaching?
Yeah, absolutely. So, someone is there. The visa classification that we have to get is a student visa, which we always make sure people aren't scared by that. They're not going to be a student. Like every country does visas a little bit differently. A student visa in Spain, you can almost just call it a one size fits all, like general visa that does a lot of different things, even if you're not a student. And what it does, it allows someone to get residency. And because they're on a student visa, their salary is technically classified as a beca or stipend, like a scholarship almost. And because it's technically a scholarship, even though it fully operates as a paycheck every single month, it's non-taxable in Spain. And so that 1,000 euros that someone gets paid in Madrid, they get to keep and pocket all of that. And on top of that, the regional like government agencies in the area that allocate the school assignment give free health insurance. So it's private insurance, but it's the same coverage that like Spaniards have like in the public system. And so that's an added benefit. Fridays, everyone has off every single week. They're paid fully for that day. There's, close to 3 weeks off for winter break, a week off paid for spring break. And so there's a lot of those cool added benefits. In terms of like our program, what we do is I try to learn from everything that wasn't going on in this initial program. Like I said, super grateful for that experience right now. And so our program that we have, we help 450 plus or minus people a year move to Spain. And we try to just make it the program that I wish I had all along, where we like hold your hand. Every single person is assigned a specialist that initially meets them over Zoom, face-to-face chat, has their number, can call, text anytime, Zoom. And this is the person that does all their paperwork. So everything that you have to do visa-wise, school-wise, once you arrive, just to get registered, we do all of that, book your appointments, fill out the
forms, coordinate with the consulate, 100% of that, get you moved into an apartment. We do all that, opening a bank account, not even just to mention like all the training that you need, and then community. That's like a huge aspect. Most people do a program are young, they just graduated college, they want community, and so like whether it's a roommate or just like a group of go out for a drink, like we want to like organize that. And as of right now in our program, we have trips, like fall and spring dates to Portugal, Morocco throughout the year, like weekend, 3 days, Friday and Sunday sort of trips. And so there's a lot of cool aspects like that the program is able to offer, like the benefits outside of just like what the school is also able to offer.
That sounds really cool. That sounds actually quite fun. So let's talk about the lifestyle. And I'm curious, since you have lived there for quite some time, some of the pros and cons of living, working, lifestyle, all of the things about Spain.
Absolutely. Spaniards definitely treat people like family. I'll even just share, this is a great, kind of anecdote, but it just is really, demonstrative of just like how most of Spain operates. When we first got married, we lived in a tiny house, like literally a tiny house on someone's property, in kind of the city outskirts of Madrid. It was Jose Luis. He was an ex-militar, so he had been an officer in the military his whole life, had this pensioned house, and he converted his garage into a little tiny house. Like a straight up tiny house. We lived there for 3 years on Jose Luis's property, and we just had the best time ever. And so Jose Luis, I'm not even kidding, probably like multiple times a week would come knocking on our door. He called me, Harry, come out. And he would offer me some wine from his bodega, like his wine vineyard that he and his friend had in the north of Spain. We'd always just have a little brindis, a little glass of wine together. He'd always bring me like fresh cheese, chorizo. He taught me how to make olives. And so we got like fresh, raw olives and like cut them up and added like the spices and stuff, let them sit there for 2 months in their salt water. And that was just an everyday thing, just living with Jose Luis. He actually passed away recently from cancer. It was really, really sad. But he was like a really special person. And that's kind of everyone that you meet. There's like the vacation study abroad experience that you think you have when you're with Spaniards, and then there's the day-to-day, I'm living here, we like take the subway together, we're neighbors, we go buy our food together at the same place, and that experience, which is incredibly relational and just very slow-paced, to be totally honest. Spaniards love taking time off and taking trips and vacationing, and there's a reason I think on average Spaniards live almost 10 years longer than Americans. And I think it's just because the lifestyle, and they're just, even another thing that really impacted me is every single morning at my school, we would commute from Madrid City by train out to the outskirts where our school was in this place called Mico. And we would grab breakfast every single morning as a team, at like this actual tapas bar where we'd sit down and have breakfast, every single day. And that's just kind of like a normal thing. And we'd probably grab a beer after work, take the train back to the city. And coming from the States, and no knocks, every place is different, but I'm just not used to like being closer, with coworkers in any way, or going to their house, that sort of thing. Like that's literally what you do in Spain. Like your coworkers become your family, and so I think it just makes working a lot more fun. And I think the people in our program are really impacted by that level like fellowship, I guess.
Sounds so cool. Okay, so lots of pros. I'm curious, are there, in your views that you living there for so long, any cons that you have experienced or frustrations over the years?
Yeah, great question. So the way that I kind of describe Spaniards, and I say this with love, is there's kind of a loud bark but no bite. And you will definitely have people like kind of get in your face every once in a while that are very like fired up about something or like a perceived something, and it never goes any further than that. But coming from maybe the U.S. and being from Louisville or Cincinnati, people are a little bit more polite and like a little more, hey, can I mention that? Or like, when you said that really impacted me. That is not really how Spaniards, they'll just go from 0 to 100 and just kind of unleash whatever they're feeling on you. And once, at first, obviously, that's really like, whoa, okay, like that was a lot. But then once you realize they're like, okay, like what they're trying to say in their way is like, hey, I didn't like that, or this is how I feel about that. So that's one aspect. I think in the working environment, the Spanish work culture, unfortunately, can be kind of gossipy, which I thought, like, any place I worked in the States was kind of gossipy, but this was on a whole other level. level, where direct communication in the working world in Spain is not really a thing. Because in the U.S., if like someone has an issue with the work that you're doing, like you're going to find out pretty soon, like, hey, let's sit down and talk about this performance review. That is not how it goes in Spain. So you're going to find out like 3 months later that you're not doing a good job from someone else. You heard it from someone else. And that happened at my first year at my school. There was, I didn't realize I was supposed to be taking initiative in some area, which I gladly would have done if I had known. But it was just kind of assumed like you're going to, do the right thing, and we're not going to tell you what it is, but you just need to know instinctively. And I found out a couple months later that my coworker wasn't happy with me, which was very hurtful because to my face, we're just, had a good relationship, and then I found out, and that was not fun, kind of addressing that with him. But I've realized since then, like, what it meant to me is not what it meant to him. He that's just the way things operate. Is the thing that's healthiest? No, but there's what I learned and what we tell people in our program is a quick remedy to that is like the first couple days at your school, once you know your new coworkers, just sit down and be like, hey, can we chat at the end of every month for 5 minutes about what was good that we should continue doing, maybe something that I should work on, and just initiating that time to be like, hey, like that was good, that was not good. They're going to eat that up. That you're going to have the healthiest working relationship, but don't wait on them to initiate that because they're like, you can bet money they're fine.
It's funny because it sounds a lot like Latin America as well. I mean, I'm sure somewhat of a similar culture, but I've been here for quite a while now, and very similar where yeah, you kind of have to like guide them through sometimes what you're looking for and like work through the problem together, because in other cultures maybe it's more expected, but in other cultures it's just really not part of that culture. So that's really interesting to hear. So I'm curious on the entrepreneurship front. What has the journey of building a business looked like for you and your wife?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's been a lot of fun. I've absolutely loved every single second of it. I initially started RVF International in 2017 because we had gotten married and I was still teaching English at the school, and just kind of realized I might need to make some more money. What this like fun, cool teaching position as a single guy in Europe was perfect for what I needed. Like now, like wanting to like buy a home someday and like have a family, like I might need something else. And so that's why I started RVF International, like honestly as a side hustle, because I learned all this paperwork and stuff on my own and navigating it. And I started a little side thing called RVF Spain Consultants at the time. And RVF is actually my wife's initials. I don't know if I mentioned that. I thought it'd be kind of cool. Like, oh, if I'm going to create something, like, it'll have something, special name. Like, this will never be a long-term thing that I'll look back on being like, why didn't I pick something better for SEO? But like RVF, like, let's do that. And then it just grew. I was so surprised like the amount of people that were reaching out to like use our little services, like get visas and whatnot. And turned out that every single person that was reaching out to us was doing it for teaching purposes. Like they wanted to move specifically to teach English. And the vast majority of them were doing this like right after college. And so it's like kind of the wheels started turning like, oh, like I was in a Teach in Spain program. Like let's just reverse engineer that experience and like make it better. And that's what we did. And so I 2018, 19 changed RVF International. After we started like, consistently maybe helping like 20 people our first year, then 65 people the second year. And then we went up to like 200 something, and then like 350, and we just had 400 start teaching a month ago, and I think we're going to have 500 for this program year. But so it's just been a long process of just asking ourselves, like, okay, this person that just expressed interest in our program, like, what would they actually need to feel like loved, supported, taken care of, that we actually have like a vision for them? Like, how can we communicate this in such a way that their mom and dad actually feel good about it? And like it turns out like there's a way to do that. Like, and it's just like be available, like have face-to-face conversations, reassure them, like give them time before ever committing. Don't ever make them feel pressured, and follow through on those promises and commitments. And so I think that's what we've done. I love the book Unreasonable Hospitality. I don't know if you've come across that. I can't remember. I just gave it to one of our team members, but this guy in New York who created the world's best restaurant in somewhere in Manhattan, and it was just literally just through creating just like a wonderful magical experience at his restaurant. And year after year, they kept growing them like the international rankings until he created like the world's best restaurant. It was all just because of like each person, they just tried to like cater to them and just make it this experience like, yeah, truly magical. And we're nowhere near that level, but like that's kind of the mindset that I want to have is like, yeah, let's just like, I don't know, you only have one life, like make it awesome for people and like have a good program and good company and, you know, treat people well. And so it's just been, I think it's even helped me grow in a lot of ways, just trying to like be like, every day we're always like, oh, how can we make this better? Like what can we, that's why we have these new tours. We partner with an agency that we really love and believe in Seville, just to like, you know, further make this, you know, international experience. Because for most people, it's like gap year, we're just trying to make it better. So, I don't know if we got on track there, but like that's kind of been a learning process. But I met a lot of entrepreneurs who just pulled their hair out. I've like loved every single second of it. It's been awesome.
It's interesting because I say this all the time. I say in Latin America, and it sounds like Spain is a similar culture in this regard, you can take any business idea in Latin America, and as long as you have good customer service, it will excel and it will be the top business because customer service is just so lacking here. And coming from a Western culture where I think, you know, we have pretty top tier, not everything, but definitely when it comes to customer service, it's top tier. And they do not have that at all. It's like the customer is always wrong, make it as difficult as possible. As I always say, like you can take any business model, have good customer service, you will be successful. Yeah, that's a funny example that you gave. So we've touched on a lot of things here. Is there anything else that you want to add into the conversation about teaching, entrepreneurship, life in Spain that we haven't touched on yet?
110%. Yeah, when we first got married, we bought a new mattress, a little tiny house, and I was at the school working one day. My wife was at home, and she's an awesome, strong person, not the biggest person in the world. The mattress company arrived with two like massive dudes apparently in the truck. One of them got out, knocked on the door, and was like, "You gonna help me?" And so my little wife Alejandra, like, well, this other guy's just sitting in the car in the truck on his phone, had to like get in, like, "Oh, absolutely," and then help this guy. It's just that would never happen in the U.S. Obviously, like Google reviews, like the company would be over overnight, but like kind of to your point, that is very, very commonplace. And I used to be really bothered by a lot of those things, but when I tell Alejandro and our team now, it's like, those are like incredible opportunities for us to excel. And like, that's why I think we've grown so much, is because it's like the biggest secret sauce, you know, answer is out there. And like very few people care to like actually implement it and like go above and beyond. And like, as long as these other programs out there, like keep offering like subpar like service and just, you know, they're all about, I mean, we're going to continue being the top program and like better for us. Like, you know, they have the answer out there, but it's like, do you want to actually like, yeah, pay the price to kind of go to that level? But yeah, I totally agree with your point.
Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing everything you've shared today. So where can people find RVF online?
Yeah. So our website is rvfinternational.com. We're also pretty prevalent on TikTok and Instagram. And so we work with a ton of creators in Spain that make a lot of good content. So I think our tentacles, at least on social media, is pretty wide. But yeah, rvfinternational.com is how people can meet us. And what we do is anytime that someone reaches out to us, we immediately schedule just like a face-to-face Zoom chat and just kind of go over like, can we help you? Like, okay, that sounds like we can. Here's the pathway for you. Here are the dates and everything. So they can make kind of like an informed decision. But yeah, so yeah, really awesome, you know, chatting with you right now about this opportunity. So yeah, thanks so much, Nicole.
You've just listened to the Worldwise Wealth podcast. Visit our links in the show notes below or at worldwisecapital.com to learn more about how we can assist in your borderless diversification journey. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in the next episode.